Today, I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind lately, and that is finding joy in every day. And the thing that I keep thinking about is like, is this even possible? Is it a real possibility to have joy and happiness every single day? And if you're like me, you probably think that happiness is something for us to achieve, something that's out there waiting, something that we have to work hard for. It's something that can only be obtained by doing and doing more than what we did yesterday. We tend to think of it as something that's waiting for us to conquer. So if you feel like that, you're not alone because that's exactly how I used to feel. I used to think that it was something that I needed to obtain, something I needed to achieve. I needed to do more, be more. But the truth is happiness is actually just a state of being that we can achieve and conquer within ourselves. And this achievement can be accomplished even in the most mundane and routine moments of our lives. I know it's hard to believe, but it's totally true. And I remember going to a meditation retreat and talking to one of my masters and telling him, "Hey, Master Daniel, I don't have time to meditate at home. What am I going to do?" And he asked me, "Do you make coffee every day?" I go, "Yeah, of course I make coffee every day." He said, "Then there it is. There what is?" He said, "Meditate while you're making coffee. Find a way to be present and invite all the senses of your body, right? Invite sight, taste, touch, sound, smell. Invite all of your senses into a specific moment while you're making coffee. And in there, you're going to be able to meditate." Because essentially, that's all meditation is. Meditation is, instead of taking all the scattered, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that, narrowing it down to what is the one thing that I'm doing? Where do I want to be? What do I want to be achieving? Being present. And the only way to be present was go through all the different sights and sounds and all the sensations of the body. Now, I know that that sounds good and dandy, but if you're like me, you probably are wondering, what is going on? Like, what really is happiness? What really is joy? And to be honest, it's actually a pretty complex process that involves, various neurotransmitters and hormones going on in our brain. When we feel happy, our brains release this thing called dopamine. It's a neurotransmitter that's really responsible for pleasure, reward, drive. And when we do things that make us feel good, like eating food, maybe your favorite food, getting a compliment, or my personal favorite is achieving a goal. When we do that, our brains release dopamine and we feel this sense of pleasure and satisfaction. The same thing we get when we go to our phone, check social media, see how many likes, see what's going on, where people tell us, "Wow, good job, you're doing great." But also, when we experience joy, our brain releases this other neurotransmitter called serotonin. This is kind of responsible for regulating our mood. It actually has some side effects on, regulating our appetite, our sleep, but it's used to be known, and I guess it still is known before dopamine's got a lot of clout lately, but serotonin is what we associate as kind of this feel good neurotransmitter because it helps us feel calm and content and happy. So we talked about two different neurotransmitters, and now you're probably thinking like, cool, now I know the name of these two neurotransmitter. I know serotonin, I know dopamine, but what good is that? How am I going to actually use that in my daily life? So, of course, my response would be, great question. And in actuality, there's several things that we can do. First, we can focus on the present moment and practice mindfulness. And when I say be present, I know that's such a vague term and I wouldn't want to hear that before. But let's go back to the example that my master gave me about coffee. It just means bring awareness, right? Bring awareness to all that is going on. Instead of just being like, "Oh, I'm all over here." We want to narrow down our field of focus. We want to see everything that's going on. So that's where I always tell people, go through all your senses and feel what's going on. Because when we are fully present and engaged in what we are doing, that is when we're more likely to experience joy and happiness. I mean, realistically, like think about it. How can you actually be happy if you're not present, if you're not in the moment? If you're thinking about the past, you're in the past. If you're thinking about the future, you're in the future. You're not actually here. You're not experiencing what is really going on. Another thing we can do is we can try to engage in activities that actually bring us pleasure and satisfaction. Hobbies that you enjoy, or exercise has been known to release some of these neurotransmitters. Or another easy one is spending time with loved ones. When you're doing things that you enjoy, our brain releases dopamine and we are going to feel good. And this is why it's so important, even for us overachievers and type A personalities, to make time to do things that actually bring us joy and happiness. Because if we work so hard and are always just focused on that, it can deplete so much of that joy and happiness. We're just focused on working, working, working. And when you start to do things that you actually enjoy and you get the serotonin, you get the dopamine, you get all these feel good neurotransmitters, that can actually seep back into your work and other areas of your life. That's why I always tell people to make sure that they're making time to do things that make them happy, because that's going to be infectious and go into every other aspect of your life. And another way that you can boost your serotonin levels is by practicing gratitude and focusing on the positive aspects of your lives. Because as it turns out, when we're grateful, our brains are going to be releasing serotonin. That's that neurotransmitter that makes you feel calm, content, and happy. Be happy with what you have, not content. I know for all of us high achievers, overachievers, contentment is scary. That's usually because we're battling something else. That's a video for a different time. But being grateful doesn't mean that you're settling. Being grateful for what you have and having gratitude doesn't mean that you still don't want to get to the next thing. We can get to the next thing, but doesn't mean that we have to hate what's going on today. We need to find a way to love today on our way towards tomorrow. Now, after all this, we still have our original question, right? So is it actually possible to stay happy and joyous all day? Unfortunately, no. It's just not possible to stay happy all the time. From a neurological standpoint, our brains are wired to seek out novelty and new experiences, which means that eventually the thing that once brought us joy and happiness might lose its effectiveness. I mean, I can't think of the amount of times that I've learned something new and I was so happy, so satisfied, but then it was just that. It was not new anymore. Or learning how to play the guitar or do something, like you learn a song and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. But then when you play the song so many times, it's not amazing anymore because you just know. I mean, go back to learning to walk. There's a time when we were so happy for walking, but that's not enough. Then we got to run, and then we got to, get into sports. We got to do all these things. So be careful. If you think that it's something that you can have all the time, that's not going to happen. It comes and goes. And what I like to think about it is emotions and happiness and all this is just like the weather. They come and go. And that's what makes it so special, because you have to have the bad in order to celebrate the good. We need them both. You can't just be happy all the time. You need the sorrow, you need the sadness, you need the negative to appreciate the good. And this is something that I'm working on, is trying to find a way to love the bad as much as I love the good, right? When it's a sunset, I'm so excited. I'm so happy. I want to share it with everyone. But when it's raining, I'm not running around going to everyone, hey, it's a beautiful rainy day. Never. But I believe that every day is a gift. And for it to be a gift, I have to find a way to love and accept and be grateful for the rain as well as the rainbows. But like I was saying, that's why I like to view my emotions as, the weather. They come and go, they're in and out. But what's really important is to try to cultivate this variety of experience and to continue to challenge ourselves, to continue to grow and learn, just as I'm trying to do for myself, of loving the bad as much as I love the good. So realistically, finding joy is all about cultivating this kind of sense of happiness and contentment within ourselves, even in the most mundane and routine moments of our life, by focusing on the present moment, engaging in activities that bring us pleasure and satisfaction, cultivating gratitude, and continuing to challenge ourselves to grow and learn, we can increase those happy hormones in our brain and experience more joy and happiness in our lives. Just don't expect it to be every day.